Hey everybody in YouTube land, once again it's time for Lancing with Myself, the weekly series where I talk about game design and freelancing, especially when you're low on spoons and low on cash, as we so often are in these dark times. Today I want to talk to you about long and short processes, long and short cycles. One thing we like to stress when you're learning game design is to make games quickly. Learn to prototype quickly to get the ideas out of your head, because there's nothing more important than getting a physical version of it, because then you can see your ideas in full flight and you actually get to manipulate them. You're not going to learn anything until you can actually present your ideas to other people and see how they react. That's absolutely vital. It's also important not to get hung up on the trajectory of just one game. If you do that, you're not going to become a game designer, you're just going to become the guy who designs that game. You've got to make a game, figure out when it's finished. And games are never finished. Games, are, like all art, are abandoned, not completed. You've got to get to a point where you go, this is finished, and walk away. Or get to a point where you say, I'm stuck, and walk away. And have the next thing coming along. Because it's good to have things in all sorts of different cycles. You need to have things that you're just starting, things that you're developing, things that you're producing, things that are in all sorts of different stages of production, so that you can switch between them, stay motivated, do different things. It's great to have lots of irons in the fire. It means if you get stuck, you go, well, there's always something else coming along. All these reasons are important reasons why you need to be doing lots of things, and you need to be able to do short iteration cycles, and you need to be able to just complete things and say it's done. Games, should only take you a year or two to be complete. On the other hand, if you go to conventions, you're going to see folks who are there over and over again. That's the other side of the thing. If you're looking at selling a game, you have to go for a much longer cycle, because really what people are looking for is something that takes a longer time. To sell a game, you have to be invested on a much longer scale. You have to do a lot more development, a lot more playtesting, a lot more producing, a lot more working with printers, and a lot more marketing. And that inevitably means these days, because every game can get out there online, what makes the best marketing is just constantly working face-to-face with people, which means going to cons and going back to cons over and over again, and sharing that excitement over and over again with as many people as possible. So, I go to cons and I see people who've been there 4, 5, 6 years in a row with the same game, at the same booth, with the same enthusiasm. Last time I saw guys who've been producing the same game for 20 years, just one little game. They haven't got anything else in their catalog. They're just excited about their game and they continually produce it. And actually that stands up. That gives it legs. People respect that. If you are around for that long, people go, well, maybe there's something to say about your game. So the long cycle is really important too. If you're looking to produce, sell, market your own games and be a producer, be a publisher, you have to be ready for that long cycle. And that's quite difficult. If you're the kind of person who works well in a short cycle, you're going to have a lot of difficulty struggling moving into that long cycle. You've got to learn, you've got to practice. Maybe doing a small game, working for other companies. This is why sometimes freelancing might be better for you. It might be better to make a game and make games and sell them to publishers. There are certain game designers who are just more akin to doing that. They make games, they go through a cycle, then they sell them off. There are lots of famous game designers who do that. You don't need to be your own publisher. Of course, in Australia and these days with Kickstarter, that can be a very low resistance path. And as I say, in Australia, it's hard to get out there and pitch things to people. So being your own publisher is one thing, but it is a lot more work and it's a lot longer cycle. And you might not be suited to that. You've got to figure out which one you want to do, and you've got to figure out how to learn these things. You can't just expect yourself to learn the short cycle of game design and then immediately be ready to do the long cycle of game production and game selling. And understanding that that's going to be difficult and something to learn and something to transfer in means you won't be like, oh God, I thought I was good at this. How come it's so hard? You have to learn the skills of transfer. Sometimes it's short cycles, sometimes it's long cycles. Sometimes you're making a game in 6 months and then you're done. Sometimes you're making a game for 20 years and you're going to be constantly there every day selling that game. Each one is different, everything's going to be different. You're never sure what's going to happen with each individual game. So you have to learn to be flexible, and you have to be ready to do the short cycle and the long cycle. Where are you now in your cycles? What skills do you need to learn? That's up to you to determine. Long cycles are hard. Long cycles are tiring. Short cycles are hard because people want to keep coming back. But short cycles can be fun because hey, there's always something new coming along. Long cycles can be reliable because hey, you always know what you're doing. It's a tough business, but you have to be able to jump back and forth. long cycles, short cycles, who knows? Enjoy them, figure out where you are, see where you are, see what skills you need. Until then, until next week, I'm Steve D, and this has been Lancing with myself, and I'll see you next time. Play games, be good, hat dogs, have fun.